They are very sensitive.
She's trying to see this to people.
Something's beeping.
Yeah, it's probably work call me again. Yeah, it says, please wait, I'll let you in. So.
It's live.
Alex. You okay?
All right, at 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Welcome to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners Virtual Town Hall Meeting. Today is Tuesday, April the 14th, 2020. We're really encouraged by all the citizen participation in our virtual formats. Also, we'll let you know that social distancing protocols are active and we are limiting the number of in this room to no more than 10. Also, want to give a special thanks to the Oconee County Board of Education who helped us in advertising this event. We're hopeful they will continue to promote our efforts to engage our citizens. We're particularly excited about the first ever Board of Commissioners and Board of Education joint town hall meeting that we have invited the Board of Education to on May 28th at 7 p.m. The actual location format that has not been determined at this point based on not knowing how the COVID-19 may affect us at that date. Board of Commissioners also asked for 2 additional town hall meetings on August 27th, 2020 and January 28th, 2021. Just going to run over the agenda right quickly and kind of talk about the format we're following. Right now we're in the introduction, but then we'll turn it over to Justin to introduce the SPLOST 2021 and also a recap of the 2015. Then we'll have some presentations of department heads on specific projects that are possible for us in the 2021 SPLOST. Then we'll take comments on those SPLOST projects. We do have some people that have submitted through the online forum comments. We'll do those first. And then we'll take questions from the community. Then we'll take general comments and questions from the public. And then we'll do a presentation of the proposed Malcom Ridge Road improvements and take questions and comments from the public at that time as well. Your comments submitted via the website will be addressed first. Hopefully you join the meeting from your computer or smartphone. To comment or ask a question during the public comment portion of the meeting, please use the raised hand feature in Zoom. From a computer, click on participants, the participants icon at the bottom of the screen, and then click on raise hand. From a mobile device, tap the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. If you raise your hand prior to the public comment section being opened, it may cause an issue with you being recognized. So wait till we open the public comment to activate your raised hand. With that, we'll bring up Justin to get us started.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's important to recognize the meeting format is awkward. There's no getting around that. It's a sign of the time, something we have to do. But I also, for the citizens and for the Board of Commissioners, this is the first of an informational meeting. There's no votes tonight. And there's going to be 2 more of these scheduled for April. for additional comment on the SPLOST. Additionally, Diane has created a special page on our website dealing with the SPLOST. It contains information on currently active as well as the proposed SPLOST projects. So we've done some dry runs of this presentation, and some of the screens show up well, some not as much. And so again, all this information will be available to citizens to view on our website on the SPLOST page, and there's a form on there for them to submit comments going forward. So as an introduction, I'd like to provide just a brief primer on special purpose local option sales tax, which may be redundant for some, but I think it's important to briefly touch on the purpose. SPLOST is a 1-cent sales tax that is currently in place and designed to fund capital projects. An important distinction of SPLOST is it cannot be used for operational expenses to fund standard governmental operations. Because of this, it requires a voter referendum. In this case, it is currently scheduled to be held in conjunction with a presidential election for maximum participation. It allows for voters to approve this petty tax for the projects that would not otherwise be accomplished. Classic examples of a SPLOST project would include roads, buildings, other infrastructure projects. The proposed SPLOST would replace the current SPLOST, which started in 2015 and runs 6 years. This would not add to the current sales tax rate, but would continue the current rate of 7% over a future 6-year period. So briefly on the screen, you'll see a timeline. SPLOST timeline has several important legal checkpoints that ultimately lead up to the voter referendum. Right now, we're in the phase of winnowing and discussing the proposed projects and receiving public input. Department heads submitted a series of projects based on needs, studies, and other information for consideration. We have 3 scheduled town halls, all virtual, in the month of April to provide information on SPLOST projects and allow public comment. It's important to note that this process will allow the public to offer up different projects for consideration as well. Ultimately, project revenue figure will be generated and the project categories will be aligned to fit into the projected revenues generated over 6 years. Due to rather obvious drastic changes, we do not currently have a projected 6-year revenue trend. We're working currently, and hopefully we'll have that within a month, to get some directionally correct overall projected revenue. SPLOST encompasses the entire county, including the 4 cities. Same as in previous years, we have circulated an intergovernmental agreement for consideration that would lead to an agreement on revenue distribution. The current draft shows it based on population percentage, and the Board of Commissioners are planning to discuss the IGA at the end of the month. Ultimately, the Board of Commissioners will need to approve the final project list and amount and call for the referendum. It's important to note that the final referendum is not a la carte. Voters must either vote the entire slate up or down, and individual projects cannot be removed or added. This spreadsheet represents the project categories for the current SPLOST that has been in effect since 2015. As you can see, it's divided into what we consider to be category buckets, which are general categories receiving certain allocations. You'll also see 2 columns of numbers. One is for the total projected cost, and one is 80% range of the cost, which we use based on collections for reserve depending on shortfalls. Some of the department heads will discuss some of the specific project accomplishments a little later, but I'll hit a few highlights. There was also a 2004 and 2009 SPLOST that until recently had few remaining funds. The 2004 SPLOST was utilized to build the Sallyport and Courthouse expansion project, and the balance of the 2009 SPLOST is being programmed to renovate our historic structures. The 2015 SPLOST will expire a little more than midway through 2021, and that's why the 2021 SPLOST is now being considered for a November vote, so that there's no gap in the SPLOST collections, which in addition to affecting the ability to perform projects, leads to vendor confusion with fluctuating sales tax percentages. You'll notice in the next slide that 2 categories are not carried over: economic development facilities and civic center facilities. The civic center project is currently underway, and future renovations would be handled under a continued reserve study element. Economic development studies will likely, facilities will likely go towards the broadband project pending negotiations. A specific broadband placeholder is contained in the 2021 project list, but the economic development category itself has been eliminated. And this is the category of the 2021 SPLOST projects. These project buckets represent the submitted projects and estimated dollar amounts from the department heads based on needs. The first thing you'll notice is that the estimated costs will far exceed the likely revenue projections, and it is possible that additional projects may be developed through the public process. Two key areas, transportation and parks and recreation, have had either a task force or committee vet some of their projects. The transportation operational projects have also been informed by a transportation master plan and regional plan. You will also notice that the buckets are somewhat reorganized as general categories and then subcategories and finally projects. We have a series of presentations to discuss some of the more specific potential projects being proposed. So the first category is under parks and recreation. Potential projects identified include the recreational facilities, which go to pay down existing debt service on the general obligation bond for OVP Park. New park facilities, which would involve new fields or facilities, potential land acquisition, and park renovations. And Lisa DeVault will come up a little later to go into more detail. County facilities represent some of our major buildings and potential additions. The animal shelter is undergoing renovations under the current SPLOST, and phase 2 of renovations are proposed under the future SPLOST. A proposed project in the 2015 SPLOST was also a $24 million new courthouse. During this time, there was discussion about whether to build a new courthouse or new administrative building, as the functions are currently commingled. The direction was decided to renovate the existing courthouse, and that phase was recently complete on the Sally Port. The second phase will be to remove all the administrative functions from the courthouse and the annex and construct a new administrative building. Land has been purchased along 441 Old Macon Highway across from Fire Station 1. The Library Board is partnering with the Board of Commissioners on this project, which will allow for efficiency of space usage and provide substantially more parking than the current site. This will also allow the county to sell the annex building, return additional property to the industrial park. Both will bring funds to the project, and the project would likely span 2 SPLOSTs. We're currently proposing $5.5 million under the existing SPLOST over the 6-year period. This would also encompass funding from the library source of the 2015 SPLOST. The building has not been designed, but preliminary estimates suggest a 60,000 square foot building. The general facilities projects have been used on existing building renovations, including numerous HVAC systems and other necessary renovation projects, and Alex will come up shortly to discuss some of those in more detail. And finally, the process requires substantial staging and steps. Ultimately, the interior of the courthouse will need to receive final configuration to make it a wholly judicial center. We have a $500,000 placeholder currently installed for courthouse interior renovations once the administrative functions leave. The next category is transportation. You can see potential project costs. Transportation needs could legitimately consume the entire SPLOST and still be wanting. Proposed allocation divides the bucket into road resurfacing, operational intersection improvements, bridge culvert renovations, and signal upgrades. The Transportation Task Force weighed in on potential projects identified in the transportation plan and will be utilized to inform prioritization of the projects. And Jody will be up to go into a little more detail on some of these. Water resources. Water resources are very generally divided into the collection system, which deals with sewer and distribution system that deals with the water provision. Both have undergone some key strategic projects in the past 5 years, notably aligning to the upgrade of the Calls Creek Water Reclamation Facility, which is currently returning cleaner water to Calls Creek than the water found within it. This is a key component to a great deal of projects within Oconee County, including ultimately decommissioning the LAS, which will grant us more parkland. The next category is public safety. It's vital to provide public safety with necessary capital equipment, and the county and the sheriff's office have partnered for the last 2 SPLOSTs to provide the sheriff's office with vehicle replacement on a regular and predictable cycle. In this case, the figure represents 8 outfitted vehicles replaced annually over the course of the SPLOST, for 48 total vehicles over the 6 years. And Fire and Rescue has completed construction of Fire Station 8 in the previous SPLOST. The proposed project list contains other major capital items identified by Chief Thaxton, important to maintain the department. The Chief Thaxton will be up to go into more details on those proposed. For technology facilities, the lack of high-speed internet has been an issue that we have been working on for a while, and the current stay-at-home mandate has made some of the deficiencies even more apparent. The county is currently in negotiations with a potential partner, and figure represents a placeholder at this point until more concrete numbers are known through negotiations. But ultimately, we've identified the broadband initiative countywide as a key initiative, both in economic development and quality of life for the county. Farmland preservation partners with the Athens Land Trust and other organizations purchases farmland in perpetuity. This allows those engaging in farming to continue doing so, and also creates additional public benefit of preserving the county's rural spaces. Under the previous SPLOST, a total of 12 farms encompassing 714 acres have been preserved. Farm selections were conducted by an independent Farmland Preservation Committee before being presented to the Board of Commissioners for ultimate approval. We are proposing $600,000 under farmland preservation. The final bucket is under historic scenic properties. The previous two SPLOST contained historic and scenic properties. In one SPLOST, they were commingled with park projects, but currently they have been reprogrammed to renovate the county's scenic and historic buildings as identified in a reserve study, including Eagle Tavern, Schoolhouse, and other historic buildings located at Heritage Park. That process is currently underway, and they're going through engineering to identify some of the key structural elements in some of the buildings. Now we're going to bring up some of the department heads to provide greater detail on some of the proposed projects in their area.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Duvall, the Parks and Recreation Department Director. Our 2015 SPLOST Parks and Recreation funded projects included the OVP Park expansion with 3 multi-use athletic fields, a concession restroom building, parking lot, and hardscape. It also included the Herman C. Michael Brandon building roof replacement and the purchase of a Toro mower utilized for athletic field maintenance. Potential 2021 SPLOST Parks and Recreation projects are based on input that we received from the Recreation Advisory Committee meetings that discussed the 2021 SPLOST meetings held on September 17th, November 19th, and January 21st. That was followed by a public town hall held on February 18th by the Recreation Advisory Committee members and park staff, and an online citizen survey that was available February 6th through March 4th, as well as individual direct citizen input received by the department. The survey revealed top funding priorities as maintaining or enhancing existing park and recreation facilities, adding new park and recreation facilities in existing parks, providing connections to more places in the community with pathways and trails, providing additional recreation programs, and acquiring additional parkland. Based on the input we received, potential projects that were recommended the most included tennis courts as the #1 most requested, also listed in the OVP 2004 master plan, and was recommended for SPLOST 2015, but funding was not available. That was followed by pickleball courts, additional trails, connectivity, or greenway type projects, indoor-outdoor aquatic facility, additional basketball courts, specifically indoor gym space, additional park property, artificial athletic turf fields, additional playgrounds, a splash pad, OVP additional entrance exit to assist with traffic congestion. That project was also recommended in SPLOST 2015, but was not funded. Fitness center, exercise equipment upgrades and replacements, and finally, additional pavilions and shade structures.
Good evening, I'm Crystal Perisco with Oconee County Animal Services. Our 2015 SPLOST is currently underway. We have done a few small projects such as brightened up and painted our lobby, supervisor's office, a visitors restroom, and provided more seating in the front lobby. Our contract has been awarded to architect Lyman, Davison, and Dooley. Our plans are completed and have been submitted for approval. Our permit has been approved, and our RFQ went out April 9th, 2020. Our layout in phases, the plan is to bid the project in phases of importance, and you can see on this slide 1 through 3, and that's the way it will be proposed for a bid as well. So right now, in progress and moving forward, our RFQ was issued April 9th, 2020, is due April 23rd, 2020 by 2 p.m. And then at that point, there will be a review of the RFQs. The date for the RFP is to be determined with the selection of the contractors that are available for the RFQs. And the final steps will be the selection of the firm that is qualified, interviewing the contractors, and then the final contract. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Over the course of SPLOST 15, we've used SPLOST funding to renovate or improve many county facilities. These projects are numerous, but generally fall into the following categories. Roof replacements or improvements, like we did at Fleet Maintenance or at the OVP Community Center. Parking lot resurfacing and restriping, like at the courthouse or the jail. HVAC replacements, mainly replacing outmoded R22 units, like at the Watkinsville Library, Annex, and Courthouse, and others. Park buildings renovations, like the big renovation project we did at the Bogart Sports Complex. Fire stations renovations, lighting upgrades to more energy efficient lights, and other general facility improvements and renovations. For SPLOST 21, staff has developed a list of suggested projects based on our facilities reserve study completed in 2019. The reserve study identifies building needs going forward into the future, and the projects we selected are those that are recommended over the course of SPLOST 21. These projects are on a per building basis, and so are tailored to the needs of each particular building as stated in the reserve study. These projects generally fall into similar categories to the project completed under SPLOST 15. So roof replacements or improvements, parking lot resurfacing, restriping, HVAC replacements, park buildings and fire station renovations, lighting upgrades, and general facility improvements and renovations. These are all in line with the recommended projects that suggested by the facility reserve study, and we are hoping to use SPLOST funding to remain up to date on all reserve study recommendations.
Good evening, I'm Jody Woodall with the Public Works Department. We'll talk about the transportation portion of the SPLOST recommended projects. As Justin mentioned, we have 4 categories that we'll discuss: resurfacing, intersection operational improvements, bridges, culverts, and signal upgrades. Under resurfacing, we select our roads based on an annual rating system. We look at a pavement condition index and take a worst first approach. And in that, the initial project list may have the main road in the subdivision, the 2 cul-de-sacs off of it are not considered because the rating is as high. So as we're developing this, we would take a look at those because it does make sense to try to get the whole neighborhood completed at one time. Looking at the resurfacing, you see a snapshot of our mileage, 394 paved miles. Of that, about 71 miles are what we would deem in immediate repair, needing immediate repair. There's 252 miles in fair condition and about 71 miles in good condition. And this program, we would anticipate paving approximately 12 to 14 miles per year. Under the intersection and operational improvements, that is one category where Justin mentioned earlier, we had a Citizens Transportation Task Force that identified projects. They reviewed the long-range transportation plan that the county had undertaken reviewed the projects in it and recommended a prioritized list. And that list is the projects that this SPLOST would try to focus on. Going into bridges and culverts, Georgia Department of Transportation completes an inspection of all of our bridges every 2 years, provides a list of needed repairs to us, and the funding for this category would help address some of those repairs, which could include painting bridge beams, repairing the bridge deck, repairing the guardrail around the bridge. And it also funding would also allow replacement of structures that were deemed to be needing replacement because of their structural sufficiency. And then finishing up with signal upgrades, funding here would allow replacement of outdated equipment, which includes signal heads, controllers, cabinets, wiring. It also would allow transition from the traditional turn signals, the 5-stack with the green ball, yellow ball, red ball, green arrow, yellow arrow, to the 4-stack flashing yellow signal heads. This would allow more flexibility in how the turn phase operates in those signals.
Good evening, I'm Tim Durham with the Water Resources Department. Tonight we will begin with the 2015 SPLOST project and finish up with the potential 2021 projects. The first project is the Calls Creek plant, which you can see an aerial view. There we go. The first slide is the Calls Creek plant, which you can see an aerial view. The plant capacity was increased from 0.67 million gallons a day to 1.5. Because much of the infrastructure was built during this upgrade, we can more easily expand the plant to 3 million gallons a day. The upgrade to 3 million MGD is required in order to decommission the LAS plant and serve as a site for our new county park. The next project is the water meter replacement program. We are installing approximately 11,000 meters. The project is approximately 91% complete. This project will allow customers to set personal alerts for parameters such as leaks, high usage, and continuous consumption. The software update is scheduled for the 4th quarter of this year. The next project is the Southeastern Pressure Zone Improvement Project. A 750,000 gallon elevated composite water tank will be erected to create more volume and assist in maintaining adequate fire flows. This tank will be very similar to the one on the right side of the slide, and you can also see the location of the new tank on the slide at the corner of 441 Bypass and Macon Highway. The site is identified by the yellow pin marker in the lower left-hand corner. This project will also install 5 pressure reducing valves in strategic locations, create 3 pressure zones instead of 2, and help balance the high and low pressure areas throughout the county. We will discuss the next 2 projects on the next slide. The McNutt Creek Sewer Extension Phase 2, which you can see highlighted in blue, installed a new 18-inch sewer main that extends from Jimmy Daniels lift station to the St. Mary's Highland Hills area. This accomplished placing more Oconee County residents on county sewer and eliminated 2 Athens Park County interconnects. It also created a path to transmit sewer from the west side of the county. The Epps Bridge Force Main project, which is highlighted by a yellow line, upgraded a 6-inch sewer main to a 12-inch. The sewer main starts at the Epps Bridge lift station and ties into an existing sewer at Government Station. Both of these projects supported our long-term strategy of decommissioning the LAS plant. On this slide, you will see a few pictures of the projects that I have described. The picture on the far right, labeled LAS Decommissioning Project, shows the approximate 240-acre tract that will be used for the park once the LAS plant has been decommissioned. The last slide shows the potential 2021 projects. Some of the potential distribution projects include the Mars Hill Phase 2 road widening project that will require all utilities to be relocated. We will take this opportunity to upgrade the size of the water main. Another potential project is the Highway 15 upgrade. This will upgrade much of the 6-inch line to a 12-inch through downtown Watkinsville. and will replace some of the oldest lines in our system. Some of the collection system projects that are on our list include the Daniels Bridge lift station and Brookshire lift station upgrades, which are required to decommission the LAS plant. The McNutt Creek Phase 3 project which will decommission the Highway 316 lift station and will complete the county's long-term strategy for transmission of sewer from the Bogart area to the Coles Creek plant. These are several types of potential problems that we plan to accomplish with the passing of the 2021 SPLOST. I think it will be a time.
Good evening, I'm Bruce Thaxton, Fire Chief. I have 8 line items that I'd like to review as proposed for Oconee Fire Rescue. The first 4 items is fire and EMS equipment. First line item is to replace 165 breathing air cylinders due to a 15-year life cycle. The second line item is to replace 15 sets of turnout gear due to a 10-year life cycle. The third line item is to replace 6 sets of hydraulic extrication tools with battery-operated jaws of life equipment. The fourth equipment line item is to purchase 3 mechanical CPR devices for rescue trucks to assist with CPR calls. Moving into apparatus, the fifth line item is to replace 3 tankers that are currently over 31 years of age. The next item is to replace 1 engine that is over 20 years of age. The next line item is to replace an air trailer and truck with an air light truck. Current truck that pulls air trailers over 44 years of age. And then the last line item is to construct a live fire training facility. This would enhance Oconee Fire Rescue's use of structural firefighting training, whether it be on Thursday nights or Saturdays. It also provides some ISO credit for our fire rating.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment section. So if you do have a comment, you will do the raise hand section at this point. We did have a couple, we had 3 comments submitted through the website, so we'll start with them. Ms. Lestia from Old Barn Shoals Road is asking for the Board of Commissioners to approve SPLOST for the historic and scenic sites in the amount of $500,000. We have Sarah from the Oconee Historical Society also asking for $500,000 for historic and scenic sites, and also allocate $100,000 for farmland preservation next one. We also received a comment from Dan McGee. His statement was surrounding counties as best practice have SPLOST citizen advisory boards in place to ensure transparency and responsible spending decisions and management of funds. Why doesn't Oconee County use this best practice? And why are there still unspent SPLOST funds from over 10 years ago? So we believe in Oconee County that the best practice is to have the people that are directly accountable to the citizens, which is the Board of Commissioners, to ensure the transparency and reasonable spending of the SPLOST funds. We do believe that we have been transparent in all transactions regarding SPLOST and also in trying to engage our citizens in every step of the way. Spending decisions follow the voter mandates, and the money is managed responsibly. As noted before, in other town hall meetings, the 2004 SPLOST money that was left over was directly related to the facility here, courthouse expansion. There's been several iterations on, do you expand the courthouse, do you build a new building, do you do the combination of both? The reason that money was never spent is you never had a Board of Commissioners before that could come to a consensus on what to do and where to do it at. We have accomplished that in the last 3 years, as evident by the expansion here for the security upgrades and also expanding the space. We have the current courthouse, and we also have property located for future use on administrative and library building. With that, do we have anybody want to talk?
All right, if you want to comment or ask a question, make sure you're using the hand raise feature in Zoom. But currently we have no one raising their hand. So if you want to raise your hand to ask a question, feel free to do so.
Very good. Thank you very much to the department heads that came. Y'all can head on out if you want to. If you want to stay around and do a meeting, that'd be great too. Next item we're moving into is the general comments and questions from the public. This is for anything that's not related to SPLOST or the Malcom Ridge Road improvements. We did have one comment or question submitted through the website. We'll go through, or actually have 4 submitted. We'll start with the first one, is the also from Dan McGee, so I'll take that one. The county has posted on its website, social distancing is making a significant impact, and our providers ask us to continue following the guidelines put forth by federal, state, and local officials. The public supermarket for weeks has been extremely busy with little social distancing measures in place until the past few days. Did the county and/or health department reach out to public management with best practice suggestions or requests to limit the number of shoppers as Bales did? I think is what he said. I frequently go to Publix, usually 3 times a week was my old method. I've cut that down to 1. And I will say, since this COVID-19 situation started, each time I've gone into Publix, they've initiated a new procedure trying to respond to the guidelines that are being set out. This is a new challenge for all our retailers, and I'm very proud of most all of our retailers for taking the steps that are necessary, and also our citizens for responding to those. There's really no playbook for this or no best practice that exists. We've had no complaints from Publix, no complaints about Publix, so we have not sent anybody from the government authority out to meet with them. Just from my observations, they are taking steps each and every time that I go in. Next item is from Michael from 4641 Greensboro Highway. He wants to know what is the current status of Highway 15 lane addition project between Oliver Bridge intersection and Hot Thomas Barbecue. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take it. That project is currently under concept phase. It would have projected engineering in 2024 and projected construction in 2028. And I want to thank everyone for sending in questions.
So that's still a long-term project. Next is from Katrina Huff. She lives in Athens, Clark County, and she is asking about transportation to Oconee County, particularly to medical facilities. Wants to know if anything is planned for the near future. She's advocating for car share, intercity buses, and commuter trains.
I'll take that one. Currently, there are no long-range or short-range plans for providing county transportation.
Next one comes from Jonathan Wallace. February 25th, 2020 meeting, County Administrator Justin Kerouac gave an update that there were 3 bidders for the broadband providers for the whole county: Smart Cities Capital, Comcast, and Charter Spectrum. During this trying time, some families are camping out in school parking lots to accomplish their schoolwork due to the lack of broadband access in their neighborhoods. Has there been any movement or update on this issue for Oconee County, progress or negotiations, and a timeline for access throughout the county?
I'll take that one. As far as the negotiations that's underway currently with Smart Cities Capital, and then the process is very complex, as you can imagine. It's not something that we've dealt with in the past, and we really don't have a roadmap to go down with this as well. So we're trying to work through this as we go, and we do feel like that we're making a lot of progress in it. And as many of you know that are watching this virtually tonight, that there are areas throughout the entire county, not just in the south end, but the north end as well, that we have spots where you don't have broadband. And it's, in my opinion, it's a real issue that we're dealing with, especially today with the shelter in place. And then, as you all know, each student of Oconee County Public Schools has a computer that they have taken home. And so they're trying to do their schoolwork so that they can finish out their school year. And it's difficult a lot of times for these kids to try to get this done. They're having to go to different parking lots to sit in their family's car so that they can actually access the internet. They're doing that at the libraries and several other places. And so we are working very diligently to try to improve this in our entire county. And so we certainly would encourage any of your questions and comments on this as we move along.
Yeah, it's really hard to put a timeline on it just because it is new. We have to be very careful with what we commit to. We have to determine if we got the funding to handle this and really to make sure that the ultimate goal for broadband to every residence is met. So it does take time. But we are aware of the problem, and really a lot of us up here experience that problem on a daily basis. Anybody raise hands there?
No questions.
Now we'll move into the Malcom Bridge Road improvements. Very good. Malcom Bridge Road improvements have been under discussion since September of 2018. The Board of Commissioners has abandoned the Malcom Bridge Middle School parent roundabout based on objections from the Board of Education. The Board of Commissioners has designed the project to avoid using any additional right-of-way from the Board of Education. The Board of Commissioners has designed the project with at least equal to or greater vehicle storage in the right-of-way per the BOE's desire not to make any improvements on school property. Next slide. Overall goals throughout the county is to increase safety and functionality of roadways, prepare for future demand on the roadways, and to engineer solutions to remove humans from the roadway. So despite our success of removing humans from standing in the roadway directing traffic at Oconee County Middle School, the last goal that we have does create a huge point of conflict with the Board of Education. Next slide. When you look at why the Malcom Bridge Road corridor, developer design change initiated examination of this corridor. So in 2007, there was a zoning that zoned this property for a shopping center. In 2018, that developer came back and said, we need to make some changes. We offered up opportunity to make some improvements along the corridor. Also, future demand, we looked at all the future demand for that corridor. Also noted that this is not situated on a state route, which allows us greater flexibility and being able to respond quicker to correcting issues as we find them. Also to note that the Georgia Department of Transportation is contributing $300,000 toward roundabout construction here on Malcom Bridge Road as well. Let's go to the next slide. So why are we doing this? Improve safety, improve traffic flow, and meet future demand. We go to the next slide. As you can see from this picture taken in September of 2018, this was taken by a citizen during the rezone petition that was presented in opposition to granting any kind of rezone change. As you can see, the blocking the travel lanes, and there's no vision for anybody turning left out of the school parking lot. Next slide. As you can tell, the school parking lot does not contain enough on-site storage. If you notice further down there, you'll see a vehicle entering the oncoming travel lane to get around parents that are stopped to get into the school property. Next slide. So this is a good picture of the conditions that exist there during the school time. And so we're putting a human being in the middle of this, whether it's 110 degrees real feel stand out there in August, or whether it's a cold, dark, rainy January morning. Somebody has to be out there directing traffic. And so why should we make the change now? And one is that there's going to be no change to the internal storage situation at the schools. And you can see there that people are not able to get off the roadway to get in and pick up. Also, during the process of talking with the Board of Education, in one of the meetings, they noted that this school could see as much as 60 kids per year over the next 3 to 5 years on an already crowded school campus. Also to note that there's with the construction of the shopping center that was zoned in 2007, approximately 2,840 average daily trips will be generated. Not to mention, within 3 miles of this intersection, 180 residential building lots were zoned in the early 2000s. Right next door to the Board of Education property is 7 acres zoned OIP. And there's 36 acres, 167 feet across the street from the Board of Education property, currently zoned B1 from the early 2000s. So you could very easily see you end up with another Butler's Crossing situation at this school if we're not careful. We are looking at more than just 30 minutes per day. We're looking at long-term solutions for the corridor. Just a quick timeline to go through. In September 2018, the developer requested modification of the 2007 commercial zoning. In September 2018, discussion on roadway improvements began with BOE staff. October 2018, zoning modification was approved, specifying 2 roundabouts or equivalent intersection improvements to develop the property. February of 2019, design review meetings began with Board of Education staff. In April of 2019, engineering of the roundabout and Linbury Road proved that it was not the best solution, so it was abandoned at that point. Other options were considered. So we went to a typical intersection improvement in lieu of the roundabout. Right and left turn lanes at Linbury Road, based on the engineering study. Next was several iterations of evaluated Malcom Bridge Middle School parent entrance. In May of 2019, the right-of-way was not available from the Board of Education to complete that. Through May through October 2019, several evaluations were done for different configurations for a roundabout based on the roundabout at the bus entrance, but also different solutions for the parent entrance. One was based on the BOE desire for a turn lane solution and the BOE's desire not to change on-site conditions. Proposed corridor improvements needed to work in conjunction with the roundabout, with the bus and staff entrance. And really, we tried to do everything after we learned that the right-of-way was not available, and the objections to the roundabouts at the parent entrance. We really got 2 main goals we're trying to accomplish here with the road improvements. One is removing the deputy from the roadway. The other is to meet or exceed the current level of service provided by the current road configuration. Designed similar to a restricted crossing U-turn or R-cut or medium U-turn intersection. So we're calling it a modified R-cut for this design that we're proposing on the roadway. You'll see a lot of these on Mars Hill Road as they exist now. Also, you'll see a lot of DOT projects implementing these in the future. Driveways of right turn configuration with U-turns at the ends of the corridor. Improvements can reduce conflict points. We're basically at an 80% completion on the drawings as of this month. Next item, just benefit of roundabouts. We did get completed the roundabout at Malcom Bridge and Mars Hill Road. Received a lot of great comments on that. So we feel like the roundabout portion, everybody's pretty much sold on the roundabouts at this point. And that brings us to our last slide. This is the actual picture of the entire project. There seemed to be some misunderstanding with some of the comments that we were getting about kind of really just reading the press release from the Board of Education advertisement. It was kind of hard to figure out what we're talking about. We're saying modified R-cut and right in, right out. But you see, you do not have to change your route to school. You don't have to go to Linbury Road. You don't have to go down Rocky Branch to get into the school. We have the R-cuts. We also have the roundabout at the bus entrance that will be there to allow transition into the roadway. So we did receive several comments related to this project based on the description provided by the Board of Education of the project. And I'm just going to kind of go through, basically had about 23 people that took the time to send in comments. I'm not going to read every comment, but I will kind of give a gist of what their comments are. If they have a question, then we'll actually talk about the questions. We had Laura, who lives in Monroe, but is a school employee, was asking about, she has concerns about the U-turn configuration, and also had the question, why not put a roundabout at Linwood Road? The reason we're not doing one there is because the engineering does not support placement of it. Lisa from Fox Glen Drive is concerned about illegal U-turns. Also, an officer believes that officer directing traffic is the best solution. Megan from Sydney's Pass wants to know why this is even being considered, where did this come from, why we put a roundabout in front of North Oconee High School and Rocky Branch Elementary School. We hope we kind of explained why we were doing this. And this just came from sitting down and trying to figure out what engineering solutions help us accomplish our goals, and based on discussions that we have had with the Board of Education. Just to note, North Oconee High School and Rocky Branch Elementary School, we do have several projects in the planning phase for that part of the corridor. So Rocky Branch, Snows Mill, Highway 53, we're currently working to partner with Department of Transportation on improvement there. When that project comes in, we'll look at closing Cold Springs Road from Snows Mill over to 53, which actually will help 2 intersections improve there. We're also working with DOT intersection improvement at Malcom Bridge, Ray's Church, and Highway 53. Right now, the Department of Transportation is reviewing Union Church Road at 53 to see if we can make one for a traffic light there. We have not received word from that. So we are looking at other school zones that exist. The problem is we're on a state route, so we have to work through their processes and procedures to get approval to do some of these things. David from Jefferson Road, or Jefferson Avenue in Bogart. He agrees with the change and firmly believes putting a human in the roadway is the least effective solution. Joe from Oak Lake Terrace believes this is not a good idea. Laura from Edgewater Drive is very concerned about proposed traffic control changes that are proposed in front of Malcom Bridge Middle School. David from Cobblestone Lane believes that safe. We're best served and enhanced by the presence of a traffic control officer in front of the schools. Casey from Arizona Bend says, if I'm understanding the proposed changes from Malcom Bridge, sounds very inconvenient. Emmy from Duckfoot Court is not in favor of turn restricted lanes or center median on Malcom Bridge Road. Brian from Harperfield Way is opposed to constructing a roundabout at the bus entrance to Malcom Bridge Elementary and Malcom Bridge Middle School. Jennifer from Arizona Bend is in opposition to the traffic plan that's in front of Malcom Bridge Elementary and Malcom Bridge Middle Schools. Lindsay from St. Andrews Drive is opposed to changing the current traffic pattern. Did state that another roundabout would be a better solution. Alexi from Rancher Drive is in opposition to the changes. Also suggested a roundabout instead of the changes that were proposed. Jay from Rancher Court is against the median. Paul from Arizona Bend is opposition to the proposed road changes on Malcom Bridge Road, if he understands the proposal correctly. Laura from Miller's Lake Drive proposed roundabout in Cedar Media in front of Malcom Ridge and middle and elementary school is super concerning. And then Kate, also from Ranger Drive, is strongly opposed. Lauren from Julian Drive, it says roundabouts seem like a better option altogether. Michelle from Rocky Branch wants officers to stay. Cassie from Atlanta Highway and Bogart thinks this is ridiculous. Ellen from Ramsey Drive, not in favor of new modifications to the Malcom Ridge Road. Chris from St. Andrews Drive, roundabouts from officer directing traffic would be fine. And then Nicole from Darlington Drive does not feel this would be beneficial. Just as a note to some of those comments, we do believe that roundabouts would be the better solution in front of both parent entrances at school. However, based on our conversation with the Board of Education, they're strongly opposed to the roundabouts there. Anything short of having a person directing traffic, conflict is going to continue. And if we cannot complete a roundabout at either of those locations without cooperation from the Oconee County Board of Education. So really, we're looking at the second best option for the corridor because we can't accomplish it without impacting the school property or forcing their hand to make any changes they're not willing to make. I will say that as part of the conversations we had for this configuration, one of our meetings with the Board of Education, they suggested having 2 turn lanes going into the Malcom Ridge Middle School parent entrance, similar to what's happening. You can see on the slide, there's 2 lanes going into the elementary school. We think that's an awesome idea. We're perfectly willing to do that. However, we could not get commitment from the Board of Education to give us right away, nor could we get them to commit to, there's some internal changes they would have to make on their property for drainage. They have a facility that's located within the improvement area. They would have to make the changes there, and they're not indicated they're willing to make any of those 2 options available to us. So right now, the current configuration shows 1 lane going into Malcom Ridge Middle School parent entrance. With that, we'll look at the family raisins.
All right, yeah, we got a couple. Let me get it.
Very good. When you're recognized, we do ask that you state your name and your address for the record.
Am I?
All right, Casey, you are unmuted.
Hi, my name is Casey Metcalf. I live at 1040 Arizona Bend. First of all, these are just proposed changes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How would they become approved?
Right now, we're in the design phase of it, so we'll be looking at, once we get to a certain percentage, we can start pricing it out and seeing what price is going to be. So it would actually have to come back before the Board of Commissioners for approval at some date in the future.
And when would the construction potentially begin?
The construction would occur during the summer when everything was out, when all the children are out of school. Would be the ideal time to do it with a roundabout. It's going to be, the roundabout is already approved and awarded. So the roundabout at the bus entrance will be going in during the summer months.
So that is approved and happening, the roundabout at the bus entrance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. However, so what has to happen for these this right turn only thing to be approved? And I'm sort of speaking on behalf of all of the Malcom Ridge parents that live on the Mars Hill side of the schools, because it's just going to change things dramatically. And the traffic is really only heavy at those intersections for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. Has there ever been a cross, for lack of a better term, the policemen that direct traffic there, who are amazing, and they do it in the rain and the cold? Has there ever been an accident? Have they ever been harmed directing traffic at Malcom Bridge Middle or Malcom Bridge Elementary?
I don't know of any officer that's been harmed. I do know we've had 2 officers, deputies in our county that were hit by vehicles while directing traffic. One was in front of the school, and the other was at OVP Park. One of those officers was killed in the line of duty during that transaction as well. Also, I understand what you're saying. Hey, this is only 30 minutes a day for 180 days a year. However, what we're looking at is not just what's happening now, but what's going to be happening there in the future. Again, with that shopping center coming on, when it's fully built out, that's 2,840 trips a day. There's 180 residential lots that were approved in the early 2000s that will most likely be developing in the next 2 years. The 7 acres of OIP zone property right next to the school, and 36 acres of B1 property. So we only get a lot of times one shot at trying to fix problems. If you look at from Union Church Road down to Butler's Crossing, over the years, things just been growing incrementally, but that's a tough intersection numerous times during the day. And the solutions there are limited on what we can do based on what right-of-way is available, the expense of improving it. So we're looking at improving this corridor for many, many years in the future for less than a $2 million spend. And we also accomplish our long-term goals to get people out of the roadways, which is, it's a very high-risk situation when they're out there. Just with, on some of the places they're directing traffic at certain times of the year, when you're approaching the deputy, you can't see them because the sun is right in your eyes. And then these, cold, rainy, winter mornings, visibility is low. You're right, these guys do a great job out there.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. Derek, you are unmuted.
Hi, it's Derek Lemons. I live at 1030 Colorado Bend. So I was happy to hear that this plan is your second option. I know when the first option came about and the Board of Education objected to it, as a parent, we weren't really presented with well, it could be roundabouts or it could be this. This particular plan is problematic, especially for those parents who have kids at both schools, which most parents will have kids split between the elementary and middle school at some point if they have two or more kids. And so to complete this drop off, I did a diagram on your proposal here, and it would require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns to complete a drop off for kids at the elementary school and the middle school, and 2 of those are roundabouts where you're waiting on traffic, and that traffic can get backed up there. So I'm definitely much more in favor of the roundabout solution. I saw Tim Burgess is on here. I don't know who else is on the Board of Education, but I don't. And are there opportunities for us to approach the Board of Education now that some of the parents understand you can either have roundabouts, which when you were first proposing this, we didn't even have the roundabout at Mars Hill and Malcom Bridge. And that's been a wonderful addition to that. And we can kind of see how things work and how it flows much better. Is there an opportunity for us now to approach the Board of Education and say, hey, we need to work with the county and get these roundabouts back on the table?
I think that's a great option, and I'd encourage you to do that. It's more than just putting the roundabout in. There's going to be some changes made to the internal storage and stacking within the school system property. So I would encourage you to contact your Board of Education member to do that. I will say, I'll try to get with you later and understand what you're talking about, the 6 additional terms. Now, this is our second best option, but it's still one of the best options. I think you'll see that the arc cuts in working on Mars Hill Road, I know there was a lot of concern about those originally when Mars Hill Road was designed. We had whole subdivisions that have to go out and take a right out and then go down to do a hard cut to go back the other direction. And that's worked very, very well, very safely. I would definitely encourage you to contact the Board of Education.
All right. Tommy, you are unmuted.
Thank y'all for having this tonight. And this might be out of turn, so if it is, maybe we can just answer it later. But I've noticed that Highway 53, it looks like the DOT is at least doing some preliminary work on the 53 and 316 interchange. And I didn't know if y'all were able to share anything publicly tonight about, is there anything happening with maybe the Highway 53 corridor that comes through out of Barrow County through Oconee? Because that's going to be a bridge soon, and then the bridges coming down 316. And then last but not least, just if there's anything with the Highway 441. Thank y'all for having this.
Yes, sir. So the Barrow County interchange with 53 and 316 is part of the 316 improvement project. So that is under design. I do not have the information on when construction will start or when engineering will be complete. I do know the engineering is underway for the Oconee connector at 316. We hope to have construction started in the next couple of years there. As far as 441 is concerned, it appears that project right now, the concept ends at the Bishop city limits on the 4-lane, and it picks up on the other side of Bishop. That I'm very sure that will come back and be addressed at a future date on what to do with Bishop. And it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get that far with construction once they turn that project loose. We do not anticipate any other improvements along State Route 53 as part of the 316 improvement. Again, we are working with GDOT on specific intersection improvements on 53 related to school traffic and then Malcom Bridge at Race Church, because that's a very tough intersection for folks to maneuver.
There are no more questions currently.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
So I appreciate the input from the citizens, taking the time to be with us tonight, and also sending the pertinent questions. I think we've done, you really led the charge tonight to explain it a little bit better, or maybe for some who maybe didn't understand all of it, but at least they've got 2 sides.
It's my goal to reach out to some of the folks that submitted comments that may not have the full picture, just to see if it changed their perception of what's happening. Like I said, this was not the #1 design, but it's still a very good design. It's going to improve flow of that corridor for many years to come.
I would like to finish up with one. I would hope that folks that listen, our concern is really to get the deputies out of the road. When you can't see the deputies because cars are all around them, it really, for me, and I spent 28.5 years in law enforcement, it really doesn't make any difference whether they were never hit before. The issue is, can you design something that takes that person out of harm's way? And because you don't know what's going to happen in early morning when it's dark, it's raining. We lost a deputy directing traffic in front of one of our schools. It's a tragic issue, and I think anybody that remembers that certainly would understand if there's a way to take the human part out. Now, granted, deputies or police officers may always have to direct traffic at an accident or whatever. That goes with part of the territory, but on a day-to-day, if you can design it to take them out of harm's way, I think that's what we're supposed to do. And I hope everyone would understand that, because you don't want one of them to get hurt. So I just would hope people understand that is a big factor, certainly to this board, and I think other people as well. I do appreciate the comments.
Yeah, I wish we could track the close calls. I mean, I witnessed it at North Oconee last year when I was dropping a kid off. And the deputy's out there doing everything he's supposed to do with the hand signals. And somebody gets up there and decides to turn all of a sudden. I mean, and then just the sunlight issues that we're facing on Highway 53 is problematic. Any other questions, comments, or emotional outbursts?
One thing I like to add is, look, if you got a question, our phone numbers are on the webpage. Give us a call. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can explain it a little bit better. If the diagram is not exactly understandable, just give us a call and we'll be glad to talk to you anytime.
Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.